Welcome back, and today I'm going to make jelly bean cookies, and I've already prepared some jelly beans. I took them out of the package. I had to get a package that has 18 little pouches. I could not find just a bag of the tiny jelly beans, and I've taken the licorice ones out because the licorice flavor is very strong and will be overbearing for the cookie. So I just have all these, and also these look very festive. All right, so let's get started. I'm going to set those aside. Let's get started with measuring the flour. All right, so we need 2.5 cups of flour. Okay, let me adjust the camera just a little. Okay, there we go. All right, so when measuring out flour, you need to level it off. So I'm using the back of my butter knife. And we need 2.5 cups. So 1, 2, and then I have my 1/2 cup measure. So there's my flour, and then the next ingredient is baking soda. And you want to make sure it's baking soda and not baking powder, and we need 1 teaspoon of baking soda. And I'm going to use the box to level it off. So I'm going to take my teaspoon and put it inside the box and make sure I dig down in there, and then I will level it off using the box. Oops, there we go. All right, and now the next ingredient is salt, and I only need 1/4 teaspoon of salt. So I have my 1/4 teaspoon here, and then with baked goods I usually even use a little less than that, but you do need a little bit to activate your baking soda. So I will almost do 1/4 teaspoon, and I'm not doing it over the top of here because I don't want it to accidentally spill, and then all the ingredients would be no good at that point. Okay, and now I'm going to take a fork and just stir this around. Pre-stir it. Okay, and I'll set that aside. And now time for, we only need 1 egg, which is nice. So I'm going to put the egg in the bowl. And I'm going to go wash my hands. So in my egg, I'm going to add my extract, which is vanilla extract. And I'm going to do 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. And then I'm going to mix this up with a fork. I should have got my fork out. I always forget to get out at least 1 item. Kind of pre-mix that up a little. Set that aside. And now the next thing is 1 cup of butter. So which is 2 sticks. So on your butter, it's going to say, or sometimes the paper's not lined up, it's going to say 1/2 cup. So 1/2 cup and 1/2 cup is 1 cup of butter. So I'm going to put that in here. And I have, by the way, left the butter sitting on the counter for about 30 minutes, 30 to 40 minutes to soften. In the summer, it probably wouldn't have taken that long to soften, but it is cold out still. So there's my butter. Wipe off my hands a little here. And next thing we need is confectioner's sugar, also known as powdered sugar. This recipe is a little bit unusual because typically we use regular white sugar. In this recipe, we are using the powdered sugar. Now, when measuring powdered sugar, You don't want to pack it down like brown sugar. So let's just scoop it up here and kind of level it off also. I'm just trying to make sure I have an accurate. So there is 1 cup. And then half a cup. I like to take my powdered sugar out of the original bag it comes in because it's so much easier to manage this way. And also because I have a snap type lid, I feel like it's staying fresher longer. All right, so we have our butter and our sugar. And we have, we'll go over all the ingredients. There's not a lot of ingredients in this, so it's already time to go over the ingredients. So I have my butter and my sugar. I have my vanilla and my egg, 1 egg and a teaspoon of vanilla. And I have 2.5 cups of flour, a teaspoon of baking soda, a little less than 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And I have already measured out about 1 cup of the jelly beans. As I said, I took out the licorice ones because the flavor is very strong in the licorice, so I don't want it to be overbearing. And if I do have more of these tiny little jelly beans in my pantry, just in case I run short. We're going to make up the dough, and then later, before we bake the cookie, we're going to press the jelly beans into the dough. Okay, so we will be using a dough hook because we're making cookie dough. This type of attachment's good for cakes and brownies and things like that. And this type of attachment is for egg whites and sauces and stuff, very light in weight. Now, since I let my butter set out and kind of soften up, that's why I didn't cream the butter separately. But if I didn't do that, I would definitely have to be creaming my butter, then adding my sugar. So it should be okay because I let it soften. But I am going to start the mixer out slow, and then I will speed it up so that the sugar doesn't go flying everywhere. Take a look at how it's mixing. Oops. And I do need to scrape down the sides. It's always a good idea to scrape down the sides. It's coming along, but it definitely needs to go longer. So no matter what mixture you have, it's a good idea to make sure that nothing's stuck to the bottom, nothing's stuck to the sides. All right. Okay, let's see where we're at now. I think it's done. So, as far as the butter and the sugar, I'm just going to tilt the camera up here so you can see. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab a little bit of this out. So it's like that. Almost looking like frosting at this point. And we're going to add our vanilla and our egg. Just pour it in there. I'm going to scrape out the excess egg from the bowl using my rubber spatula. If you don't have a rubber spatula, this one's great. This one also is, you can scoop stuff, so that's nice. But if you just have a flat rubber spatula, that'll work just fine. We're going to mix this up some more with the egg and the vanilla. Okay, we're going to scrape down the sides again. Use this beater a little bit to, whoops, now I unattached it. I was trying to use it to scrape the batter off my rubber spatula. Okay, so this needs to be mixed some more. Hold this on and use that to scrape it. Okay, let's mix it some more. Okay, let's see how we're doing here. Just take a peek. And it's still not completely mixed up, so we have to go slightly longer. Sometimes I feel like because this mixer is so big that when you do a double batch, it actually has an easier time mixing. But I didn't want to do a double batch today, so let's mix it a little bit longer. I'm going to kind of take this off just to show you. I think we're going to start adding the flour. That way it can start blending a little bit better. So you'll just see me occasionally adding the flour over here. And every time I add the flour, the mixer will be going slower, and then I'm going to speed it up. Scrape down the sides again. Hope everybody's having a good day today. This is a fun cookie to make during the holidays or any time. Okay. More mixing required. Okay, we're getting very close, but not quite there yet. All right. I'm going to move the camera so everybody can see kind of where we're at. Bear with me here. So, you can see that it's starting to come clean of the bowl, which is good, but it's not quite there yet. So, I'm going to scrape the sides again. This is like a very type of dough it is. It's like a heavy dough. So I'm scraping. And it's, like I said, it's almost done. Just need a little bit longer because it's very important when making cookies or anything that requires mixing that you mix it thoroughly. Like I'm noticing some stuff stuck on my spoon. So we'll mix it just a tad longer. Okay. Okay, let's take a look. Let's see where we're at on this. I think we're done. Okay, I'm going to take the dough hook out, and it's going to easily get off of there. Just come almost clean. As you can see, it is pretty much coming clean of the bowl. And there's a little tiny pieces, but that's not. I'm just going to scrape it. And we're going to go ahead and get out a cutting board with some flour on it. I'm going to put a little bit of flour on the cutting board. Now these are actually considered a refrigerator cookie. So I'm going to prepare this dough, and then I'm going to put it in the fridge for a minimum of an hour, maybe longer. Or if I don't have time today, I can go ahead and do this cookie tomorrow. So sometimes that actually works out, depending on someone's schedule, it works out actually better for some people if they can make the dough up ahead of time and then actually do the cookie the next day. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of work this dough a little, just a little, not a lot. I don't want a ton of flour in it. And I'm going to start making it into like, eventually it's going to be like a thick coil or round. It's going to be a round cookie. But I need to have it spread out to about here. So notice the technique of doing this. It's getting longer. And I don't want too much flour, so I'll remove this flour, but I don't want too little flour to where it would start to, stick on my cutting board. That's the whole thing. So and also the key is, okay, I think that's about right. Also, I want it the same, uniform. And we have the little jelly beans. So imagine after I refrigerate this, I'm going to slice it. So I need it to have enough surface area to put those little jelly beans on. Okay, so I have some plastic wrap. I'm going to carefully do this so I'm glad I have enough flour for sure. So just do your best. It might not be perfect. All right, so now I have to very carefully put this into my fridge. I got to make sure I have a spot before I start moving this. And I'll put it in my fridge, like I said, a minimum of an hour, maybe longer. Maybe I will do this tomorrow. And so I'm going to cover up my jelly beans. I'm not going to eat the licorice jelly beans before I film because then my teeth will be black. So they are quite delicious and very tempting though. All right, so I have my dough, and my dough happened to, I decided just to make it today. So it sat in the fridge all night long. And I've had it sitting on the counter for probably an hour and a half though, because it was so hard I wouldn't have been able to cut through it. So now if you only put the dough in the fridge for maybe an hour or two, it wouldn't be that way. But I did have it overnight, which sometimes is more convenient because sometimes you just happen to have more time to just make the dough and then the next day make the cookies. So whatever you want to do. But it definitely needs to at least, minimum, be in that fridge for probably at least an hour because you don't want it to be mushy when you try to cut it, because we're going to cut it. So I'm going to put a little bit of flour down, and then I'm going to put the dough on the cutting board. And you can see it is still hard enough that it's not going to be mushy. I have a very sharp knife, and I'm just going to cut these probably about this thickness, which is maybe, that one might be a little on the thick side because it's the end. So maybe like, because they're going to poof up a little bit, but I also want to be able to put my jelly beans in there. So maybe like a little more than 1/4 of an inch. Okay, so I actually got a measuring tape out just for argument's sake, and it's about 1/2 inch, which is about the width of my finger right there. I have small hands, so around 1/2 inch. That doesn't have to be perfect, but if you could try to make them uniform size just so that they cook, I'm just eyeballing it at this point, so that they cook at the same rate of speed. So I'm just going to start putting these on the cookie sheet. I have 27 cookies total on all the cookie sheets, and I just wanted to also show you what this looks like. All right. So, and like I said, I eyeballed them around 1/2 inch. Some of them were a little bit thinner, especially toward the end. And so now I'm going to put my jelly beans. I'm going to also mention that I'm preheating my oven to 375, and I am using, again, the tiny jelly beans. I did take the licorice ones out because the licorice ones have a very strong flavor, and I didn't want it to overpower the cookies. And also I want to mention these are just the classic jelly beans. You would not want to use gourmet jelly beans because I feel like, again, the flavor would overpower the cookie. So you can just take the little tiny jelly beans, and if these were a full-size jelly bean, I would want to cut it in half. So let's see how many I should put on here. I'm not quite sure. It doesn't necessarily have to be a design. I'm going to try to maybe put different colors though, so I'm not like with the same color, and I don't want to crack it. I think maybe I'll put that one right there. Or you can just go ahead and whatever you grab out of here. So I think 5 might be a good number, potentially. I think that might work out fine. You could do 3. You could just go across. Maybe I'll do some with 3 and some with 5, but I'm just going to continue to do this, and then we'll check back in a little while. By the way, I'm not sure if I mentioned it yet. I have 27 cookies, so the single batch makes 27 cookies, and I do have some jelly beans left over. So, which is good because if you're doing this and you're snacking as you go along, you won't run out. So that was a cup of jelly beans, of the tiny ones. Okay, so it has been 6 minutes on 375. I'm sure it has to go longer than that because usually it takes about 12 to 14 minutes. So let's just take a peek. Okay, we're making progress, but we aren't close. So I'm going to set another timer for another 6 minutes. But if I do smell the cookies cooking and they're smelling like they're starting to get done, I'm definitely going to peek inside. The timer is not gone off yet, but I'm going to, it's been a couple minutes in since last time we checked. I'm going to take my bottom cookies and put them on the top rack, and my top rack cookies and putting them on the bottom so that everything gets cooked evenly. And the cookies are starting to spread out and get bigger, which is really good, and they're starting to smell good, and we'll check on them soon. Okay, so it ended up actually being about 15 minutes. And as you can see, you have to brown the cookies a little. That's how you know they're done. And then the jelly beans are starting to kind of melt. And these cookies actually got a bit bigger than I was expecting. I was hoping to not have to use another cookie sheet. So that one did get connected, which I will separate. And that one got connected, which I will separate. But they did get quite a bit bigger. So I'm going to let them cool down and then we'll put them on a cooling rack. I thought that maybe people want to see what you do if you have this situation. So I have a very sharp spatula. And these are still warm. I'm not ready to pull them from the cookie sheet yet. But I'm just going to do that. Put a line in between. And then just same with this one. Go like this, separate them, and then when I take them off, they won't be attached. Let's start taking them off the cookie sheet and onto the cooling rack. That came off perfect, quite easy to remove. I'm going to continue to do this, and I'll be back for the taste test. Okay, it is time for the taste test. I just want to show you all these cookies first, though. Just going to kind of go like this. So even the cookies that were stuck together ended up coming out really, really nice. And I might add that the house smells absolutely delicious between the cookie itself and the melted jelly beans. It smells great in here. Okay. And if you've watched my channel before, you know that I like to eat the cookies warm. And that's the good thing. If you bake the cookies, you could taste test them warm. Okay, so at this one, of course I picked the one with 5 jelly beans because I have a sweet tooth. I'm going to show you what it looks like in the center. Let's see. I guess I'll bite into this side first. That is absolutely delicious. Light and fluffy and airy. The cookie itself is absolutely delicious. Buttery sugar cookie. And it tastes different than your regular sugar cookies that have regular sugar because we've made it with powdered sugar, so it gives it a little bit different flavor. And then the taste of these melted jelly beans. I'm going to maybe try the red one because that's my favorite. Melted jelly beans, absolutely delicious. Between the butter and the jelly beans, we could easily eat too many of these, that's for sure. But a different type of cookie, a very delicious type of cookie. I really like it a lot, and I'm sure your kids will like it, but your adults will like it too. So I hope you enjoyed this video. For those of you who subscribe to my channel, I really appreciate it. And if you don't subscribe, it is free. And please also watch some of my other videos if you enjoyed this one. Hope you have a great day, and I hope you make some jelly bean cookies. It's lots of fun. Have a great day.